This is kind of the intro before the intro. I was going to go metal detecting today, but I didn't know what the weather was going to be like. I texted Stephen Pettican last night asking him if he was going out, and he said the weather was going to be crap. I checked the weather, and yeah, it's going to be crap. So, as metal detecting is kind of an indoor hobby, an outdoor hobby, sorry. I tried it indoors, it's not the same. So, metal detecting was off the list today. So, me, Emily and Grace went to Tretower Court Castle instead. And, just thought I'll make a video while I'm there. I caught some strange stuff on camera. Now, the place has a reputation for being haunted. Now, do I believe in ghosts? Well, I'm open-minded about it, really. But I do want to see concrete proof that there is life after death. Some people just flat out believe it. I'm open-minded. Yeah, I believe there might be something, but I want to see proof of it. And anyway, I caught a couple of strange things on camera today. And it wasn't until reviewing the footage that I actually saw it. Well, the first one anyway. The second one, I actually saw it through the phone screen when I was filming it. And now there was a bat that was flying around the ceiling of this, in one of the rooms of this house we went to today. And I had my back to the wall, to pretty much next to a window. Emily was to my left. And Grace was floating around playing, doing her usual up to mischief. Now, there was a light anomaly that shot through on the screen, went in a whirly and up to the ceiling. And I saw it. It was red as well, which is a strange colour for an orb. They're not normally red. But it was the way the path that it took looked a bit strange. Now, after it passed the camera, Emily said, "Oh, that bat has just gone right past my ear." You can hear her say it on the video. But I was filming the bat, and the bat went out the door. So the bat was nowhere near her ear. She was standing to my left. And we both had our backs pretty much up against the wall. So there was no way a bat flew past her ear. Because I had the bat on camera. I was watching it flying around the ceiling. It didn't go anywhere near Emily. And she said she felt it go past her ear. And I saw this light anomaly shoot across the screen. Watch the video, make your own minds up. And drop a comment, see what you think. I've slowed it down so you can see it a bit clearer, but I mean, you can't miss it anyway. It's bright red. It shot across in front of the camera, did like a swirly motion, and then went up into the ceiling. And that's the second one. The first one, just as we were going in, I was walking across like a walkway which goes over the top of the main gate as you come in. There's a walkway, and in front of that walkway, as you come into the end of it, there's a doorway. Just getting to that doorway, and there's a flash in the doorway. There was no one in there, because I went in there pretty much straight away. There was no one in there. And I've slowed that down as well. I can't explain that. It could have been a bug, could mean anything. But the second one, I can't explain that. And I can only put it down to paranormal, because Emily said she felt it go past her ear. And I know for well it wasn't the bat, because the bat, I was filming the bat flying around in the ceiling, up in the rafters. So yeah, watch the video, make your own minds up, drop a comment, let me know what you think. Enjoy, and I'll see you on the next one. Welcome back, everybody. Right, this behind me is Tretower Court Castle. It's a fortified manor house that was built in the 12th century. Out the back of the manor house is a castle that dates back even earlier than that. Let's pop in and have a look, shall we? Right, we'll check out down there in a bit. We'll go this way first. hand. Come on, Baba. Step. Step.
Oh, there's 6 steps.
Yeah.
I think we use them all the time.
Right. White lady goes across this balcony. That door. Not sure what this room would have been used for, probably banquet hall or something. And here we have another state-of-the-art toilet. Yeah. Come on. What's in here? Oh, oh, we've just been in there. Yeah, just been in there through the other door. Yeah. That be a toilet.
Chris wants to see. Don't touch though, Chris. Oh, what's down there?
Not quite sure what this was, probably some kind of storage area. Yes, Baba? Yeah, this would have been for storing grain or something, and they're the chutes for pouring the grain in. And there's another one there. I'm assuming it's grain. It's got a bit. way.
Giant chest room. Oh yeah, you did it. And then you ran down. Yeah. Okay, so that's just a room. That's just a room.
Toilet. Every palace has one in every room. They're posh here.
This is a massive door. Oh look, there's little tokens.
That's for drafts.
Yeah, we're just going to go straight on, but you can look through the doorways on either side to the ladies' and master's bedroom. So these are the two bedrooms for the family.
The bat flying around.
We went really close to my head.
Did you just go out the door then? Yeah. Grace, come sit on this one. Yeah, you can have one, Lindsay. Yeah, bread's a bit overdone. I wonder how mature that is. Gracie. And this be the banqueting hall. Nice bit of silver up there, look. you look through this window, you can see the castle up over there, look. Oh, it's just a banquet hall through there. Go back through here, through the kitchen, and back out into the main courtyard, the gardens. Charles Vaughan is the guy that built this house.
So, here we are standing in front of the castle. Let me start by saying that 1093 was a really bad year if you're Welsh. Okay? In that year, Bernard de Neufmarche comes trotting out of Hereford, gets as far as Brecon and kills Rhys ap Tudor, King of the Ibarth, this part of South and Southwest Wales, and associated local lordlings and their army in a battle somewhere outside Brecon in 1093. They've already come over at Chepstow in 1067, so Chepstow Castle, as far as we're aware, is the oldest secular stone building in Wales. As I say, started in 1067, so straight after the Battle of Hastings. And they'd come out from Chester, heading on along the North Wales coast, not long after that. But this is the first time they've come into Mid Wales. And Bernard, when he killed Rhys ap Tudor, apparently he then parcelled out the land around his own capital. Brecon was his first castle, and he started the one at Bilthwells and at Hay. But he parcelled out the land around to the 10 Normans who were following him. My, they must have been tough, those warriors, if there's only 10 of them. We can safely say that actually they have their own little entourages, but there's 10 knights, the equivalent of 10 Norman knights, and their entourages. Together, probably still quite a small army, about 200 or 300, but certainly better armed, better trained, and arguably better led than the native Welsh. And so they were able to win a great victory, take this land as their own, and Norman conquest is all about that, wherever it is, whether it's in England, whether it's here, whether it's over the border into Scotland or Southern Ireland. It's what you can hold by the weight of your sword arm, what you can take and what you can keep. And actually, when we talk about the Welsh marches, which you'll often hear people talk about, it's actually what people don't seem to realise is it's about 2/3 of Wales. So the bit where they still speak Welsh today, Gwynedd coming down through Ceredigion and Aberystwyth towards Fishguard, that is the bits where they still speak Welsh natively. That is the independent Wales. The other 2/3, basically everything from Wrexham down towards Dyfed into Pembrokeshire, is the marches. It's not just a little strip down Offers Dyke. which is what people sometimes think it is. And so the Normans filled out into all there, and sometimes they did good things, sometimes they did bad things. They would marry local princesses, thereby giving themselves legitimisation at least as regards the local Welsh. Here, the Picards who built this castle seem to have got on very well with the locals. Unlike the de Browses who built Abergavenny, so 10 miles that way, who are, amongst other things, responsible for the Christmas Day massacre of 1175. And if you don't know about it, I suggest you go read it. It's horrible. We're going to take a look at the castle here. Because Picard was one of those 10 people, and he chose this spot for his castle where he could have built on the Roman remains at the foot of that slope over there. There's a farm called Agaya, where underneath the mounds in the grounds there was a small Roman marching camp. But he didn't. He could have used the stone from there, but actually Picard came back to more the middle of the valley here, where he could see all around, and just as importantly, everybody could see him, because actually control of an area is all about display. And so the Normans building Motte and Bailey castles gives you a full sense of height. You don't have to build it on top of a mountain. In fact, invariably they didn't. So you build it down here on the flat. You then build a mound to give yourself a full viewpoint, which other people can see. And that way you control the land that you want to oversee. And this is no exception. So all the valleys, down the valley here, there are lots of springs. There's a river, the Riangoch, beyond that row of trees over there, which is a tributary of the Usk. This valley was originally called Ystrad, or place of water, because of all those spring points. So Picard chose this spot because any road coming from Abergavenny to Bernard's new capital of Brecon would pass through this valley, and that's how you make money, controlling the local population and actually taxing the merchants who cross your borders and have to cross the rivers. That's why the major Norman castles in South Wales, like Newport, Swansea, Cardiff, Cadw, Pembroke, they're all built where those same rivers meet the sea, because that way you get to tax the ocean-going ones as well as the ones on land. Okay, so it's all about control and making money. So we've got this castle here, the original wooden tower and a small baby is gone, replaced by 1150 as what they call the shell keep. So like a crab shell, okay, it surrounds the main food and water supply in the middle. So there is a well in the middle of this castle, over which the tower is now built, but we'll get to that in a minute. But in the original, it's in the open, there's a courtyard, and then buildings are built touching the outer wall, which is why you can see windows up here, where you wouldn't normally expect to see windows in an upper part of an outer wall. That is why they're there, in the same way that Cardiff is an example of one, York, Clifford's Tower in York, Tamworth in the Midlands, Restormal in Cornwall. In their varying sizes, these are all ideas of shell keeps. This is no exception, except in its size. Okay? As we go in through the gate, I want you to keep your eyes open for the smiley mouth. Okay? Keep your eyes open for the smiley mouth.
I'd say it's probably that there.
Oh, what a good one. That could be the one, sir. Can you see it now? Doesn't it look like a smiley mouth? Oh yeah, it's a smiley mouth. And why do you think that's there? Can you just walk into the fireplace, go into the fireplace, and put your hand, that one there you're looking into, put your hand there. Right, that is a sloping hole going up. That's one of the ones I mentioned that allows extra amount of light to come down and helps take the smoke out, because where we are is in the basement under the Great Hall. If you look up here, you can see the roof line. So there's a floor up about here, and then there's a great hall above our heads running all the way down there and taking out where this tower is. We'll come to that in a minute. Yeah, well there will be, that's the chimney. Yep. Okay, and that's where all the cooking was done. Over where the gentleman is stood over here, there are collection points for holding bowls and things like that. And also in here is the other end of the smiley mouth. Can anybody see it? There you go. Can you see the other end of the smiley mouth, children? There we go. So that stone area in front of you, where the gentleman's just stood, okay, he's now standing in the trough, where all the washing up and liquids are poured down, and that's why the smiley mouth is there. So it allows used liquids from within the kitchen to be disposed of down to outside the castle. Yeah? Quite bizarrely, that is also possibly one of the background reasons behind the crack appearing in the wall 400 years later, which is almost certainly due to subsidence. And actually constantly tipping liquids out down there would be undermining the mountain. So they actually caused their own, potentially, by continually tipping liquids out down there, which was then seeping into the mound. But it took a long time. The castle was officially decommissioned in 1606, probably when the crack appeared in the wall, and was then deemed too expensive to repair. So they started to dismantle some of it, but not a lot, as we shall see. So, we've seen the kitchen. We're now working our way through a basement room till we get to the bread oven, where I will stop again. Just in time for the sun to come out. So still ignoring the lump of stone to my left, we've talked about the Great Hall being up there. You'll notice from a sign on the wall over here, behind this gentleman here, this one says solar above and a bricked up fireplace. That is because this was part of a big L-shaped building like this. The well was over there on the far side of what's now the tower, but this is a big L-shaped building. The ground floor is always storage. There's no entrances into here from the courtyard or outside. So the doorway would be up a staircase and coming in above our heads up here, where there was a vestibule. And you either turned left to go into the Great Hall, you turned right to come into the Lord's Chambers, the solar, or you had the choice of coming down the stairs here and out there to go into the storage room that side and the kitchen, or you went upstairs that way and out onto the roof, onto the wall. Yeah? So, when the castle was destroyed by Richard Marshall, Lord of Pembroke, in 1233, he was an ally of the native Welsh of North Wales, Llewellyn ap Iorwerth, Llewellyn the Great of Gwynedd. Around between 1200 and 1240, the Lord Rhys down the south had died in 1197, and Gwynedd was expanding its power southwards. Richard Marshall, although another Norman and son of the great William Marshall, was an ally of the native Welsh, and so he came along from the Carmarthen Shivans through what we would now call Sennybridge, Trecastle. So the castles there, Trecastell, Castell, fell to him. This was no exception, and he ended at Hay-on-Wye, where he died at the end of 1233. The Picards got the castle back a couple of years later from Llewellyn, and then they started completed the demolition of anything that was left inside here to build the great tower over the well. So they're the ones who bricked up the staircases to try and make as blank a curtain wall as possible, so filling in the holes to make it as blank as possible. However, when we go inside the tower, you'll note that there are no cooking facilities. So that kitchen was still used. So there must have been an alternative, maybe from the old flooring, but they would have re-roofed it to still use that kitchen and then go up the staircase into the tower, because there are no kitchen facilities inside. The bread oven here, the pobty, does anybody know how these work? Can I explain it? Oh right, if you haven't seen, it's much like what we would, if you go in your garden out, a chimenea or a beehive, okay? So you have a big shape like this, it has a small doorway at the front. The night before, the wooden door to this you soak in water. They knew exactly by trial and error how many faggots of wood it would take to get the oven to the required temperature for its size. So at 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, one of the servants would be here, putting wood in, firing it up. The door that they've soaked overnight, when it's reached the required temperature and the bread is made, they rake out as much of the ash as they can, they put the bread in, they put the wooden door in, they seal it up with leftover dough. An hour to an hour and a half later, the dough on the outside has gone off, so they know it's ready inside, and that bit on the outside can still be used like bread rolls, because it looks like a long bread roll when you take it off, so you can chop it. It's still bread, you can still eat it. The door has dried out, you take that away, you take out the bread, take it to where you need it, and we'll talk about the bread when we get in the house, because it's easier to describe there. But that's the reason for the oven here. So they still needed this. This was in case of siege. An oven this side would make enough loaves to feed everybody in the castle. Okay, it's not just a household one. But what it does show here is later progression. We know that this came second because it's in front of a filled-in doorway here. So there were other doorways and archways in and around here that were then filled in, and then this bread oven built. There's an archaeological signpost for you. The filled-in fireplace, I mentioned this is the solar. Again, we'll talk about solar in the house because it's easier to explain, but basically it's what in the 18th or 19th century would be called the withdrawing room. It's family room. So when they finished in the Great Hall, the family come in here, everybody else goes to wherever they're going. Which in the case of visitors would be a visitor's building within the Outer Bailey. If it's his retainers, they obviously have their own houses. Yep? Any questions so far? Gosh, I am doing well then. Right, as we go round to go into the tower, we're going to pause momentarily and look up, because you're going to see a door and a window where you wouldn't expect to see one. If you stop at about there, sir, that would be lovely, and look up. Here you can see the cellar this side. The Lord had his own way down to his own cellar, because here's another bricked up doorway that came out just here. That's the good thing about this wall being like this. You can see where the doorways were filled in afterwards within the wall. Okay, so above my head now, you'll notice there's an inverted V for a roof, and there's a door, and there's actually a triangular window this side. The little triangular window is actually for the garderobe. That's the only toilet within the tower. But of course it is in the Lord's solar up in the tower, so it's in the Lord's living quarters. No one else gets to use it. You have to run outside. Right. Congratulations, like all good servants, we're standing in the cellar. That's all right. I'm only referring to me, of course, not you. So the well is below us here about 2 feet. It's been long covered up and covered over and filled in, so that no one can have any accidents like that. But the tower was started round about when basically straight after the Picards got it back from Llewellyn. So round about 1235, they started building the tower, knocking down what was outside, and then erecting this. It's just under 20 metres high. There may have been a little bit more on top, counting the roof, but so it's somewhere between 18 and 25 metres at its highest point, but certainly with a good view all around. The nice thing about castles, again, I don't know if anybody noticed, but castles went out that way. It's a bit like modern living. Your castle grew out that way as far as you could, and when you wanted to show off more, then it started going up this way, in the same way as we then started building skyscrapers, because we got as far as we could that way within the city environments, and so we start going up. Castles is no different. So that's why, again, the shell keep is a particular size, and then when the tower comes in, hey presto, everybody wants a tower because it's better defensively, and you're higher up, people can see you from further away. So it's sort of self-accomplishing, if you like. This is no different as the next shower comes in, really nice. We're safely in here. So, what are we looking at? A basement. Where you come in, you can actually see that above our heads where we came in is actually floor level. This balcony up here, if anybody wants to go up to there, you can do so. Those stairs go up to that balcony, but that is floor level. The next floor up, with the fireplace directly above, that is the solar for the tower. So that doorway just there, above and to the right of our good children there, that's the one going out to the bridge. And the garderobe, the toilet, is actually just behind the back of the fireplace. Isn't that nice? Keep it warm. Okay, round the corner there, and then the top level is the bedroom for the family and so, but that you see has no fireplace at all. It's not even been filled in. There is no sign of a fireplace. So obviously they did not want a fire in the bedroom, and one of the things that I like always about this, and we're able to show, is the fact that in your castle tower you only want very small holes, if any, within your castle wall, because otherwise it becomes weak. And so the fireplaces is a great example of that. So you've just got one little flue hole going all the way up through the inside of the wall to a pot on the top. But by putting the fireplaces directly on top of each other, as we still do, but actually having a sloping back wall means the heat from the first one starts to preheat the one above. And so on. If there were more fireplaces above, they'd all be up the same one. Whereas nowadays, if you have a cottage, for example, like my one, where I've got a massive ingle-look fireplace, but then the flue for that goes up like that to the side of where the fireplace was in the room above, because that's the way they built them then. This original one actually makes, to a certain degree, more sense. It's certainly from this defensive point of view, it's better to have a small hole running through and the smoke going up through one hole, through the wall and out the top, and preheating chimneys above. Okay? The top room has a bedroom. You can notice there's also no signs of an internal wall. What they usually did in a room that size is any children who were still at home with the parents, and you tried to have a lot of children because a lot of them died young, there would be a curtain as a divide across the room. And then the adults would sleep one side, children the other. Where we're standing, obviously, I said we're in the cellar. We've got this nice stone wall around us, and up above us we've got the castle with the nice stone wall. Anybody tell me why this bit is all rough.
Didn't mean to make it pretty because you weren't living in it?
No, I see where you're going with that one, but actually because you'd say that if it were all the way to the bottom, because this is the cellar, you'd say it would all be like that, but it isn't. The bottom is as smooth as the top. It's not quite lime washed in the same.
Vaulted and like
It's vaulted is the correct answer, and the clue was actually, I was going to give you, was actually just above your head. As you can see, the start of these stones here starts to curve over, and actually either side of the fireplace and either side of here, you can see there were square beam holes in the wall where they built an X-frame, and then this was all stone vaulted, because you're obviously, if you've got 40 or 50 people in there, you're not necessarily going to want to put that on wooden floors. You want something to be able to take the weight and everything that's above. And so this is made a bit like that beehive bread oven outside, in the same way, but it's with a vaulted ceiling, and actually most of this had fallen in, and then in the intervening years we've taken this back, so no more of it can fall. Okay, but that's why it looks like that now, and why the top of the archway of that door goes through where you think it is. And these go up here like this, because these are breather holes to allow air and light to come into your stores that are stored in the cellar, and for drawing water so that you can see, but they're not big enough for anyone to climb in or out of. Okay. The upper levels, how you can see the next floor up, again, big square beam holes for the beams for the floor there, and we know when those floors were put in. We know when the wood for the castle was cut, because all the oaks in the country were owned by the king, in the same way that all the deer were. And so in 1241, the Picards had to apply to the King's Steward at Grosmont for 6 oaks to be cut down to do all the beams and all the woodwork for the tower. And that paperwork actually still exists in the National Archive in Aberystwyth. So, you know, we can date that. So this is why we always say that the castle's completed round about 1245-ish. 1245, yeah, within a couple of years. It's hard to date closer than that from what I've seen. But it's close enough. It's a bit like radiocarbon dating or dendrochronology in the house. We say that the house now starts 1150 to 1450 to 1455. There's always a 5-year plus or minus. Made with stone tiles and mortared in, which is the way this would have been originally as well. It wouldn't have been open before. It would have had a roof on it. Okay? Any other questions while we're here?
One final question. Have you found any woodwork here? Have you recovered any
In the castle?
large
Not
structures?
that I've seen, not that I've heard of. I've been here 10 years. I've read a few documents on original sort of documents on it, or facsimiles of them. There's nothing that I've ever seen that said there's wood.
1890, yeah,
Most of this
1897,
has
yeah.
collapsed. It's gone out of use in the 1600s, and it has been used. So any wood beams that were still usable would have been taken away, which is presumably why when the ceiling
Yeah.
knocked holes through here, which then made it unsafe, so this was all taken back. So at that point, I think any wood would have been taken away and burnt on fires, if nothing else. I've never seen any wood come from the castle.
You have no knowledge of wood used in other houses in the local area?
Not that I'm aware of.
Concludes our visit to Tretower Court Castle. Hope you enjoyed the video. See you next time. Grace, say bye-bye. Say subscribe to I Detect South Wales.
Get the right.
There we go. Catch you on the next one, people.